Hello there, this is Rashonda Thornton, the Dietitian Against Diets Play to Win series. As you see right now, I have a new different background back in the studio and very excited about it. Before we get into our Play to Win topic, I want to introduce you to one of my podcast partners, especially in honor of National Dairy Month, the month of June. One of my partners that I adore is Undeniably Dairy with Midwest Dairy Council. And in regards to National Dairy Month, how can we highlight the importance of the nutrition we're getting from our dairy products? So, just to give you some insight, when you think about dairy products, think beyond the span of just milk. Also, consider your yogurts, your cheeses, your cream cheeses, your sour cream. They're all under the same category of dairy foods, which means they all carry tons of nutrients such as protein, vitamin D, calcium, vitamin A, B vitamins, and many, many more. So having totaling all your essential nutrients coming in through every serving, what does it do for your body? Well, think about your bone health, your teeth health, your eyes, your skin, your muscles. All of those are benefited by making sure you're getting your daily serving of dairy products every day. So go to their website. Learn more, especially considering now is Nutrition Dairy Month, National Dairy Month, at dairygood.org and follow them. They have some great recipes on there. I think you enjoy some of the ways they are being creative and making sure that their dairy products is not just nutritious, but tasty. So the topic of today's discussion is going to be, and this is something that I have really worked with a lot of my clients, especially there's one today actually that kind of brought this particular topic on. But when it comes to our nutrition in ourselves, in our bodies, do you ever think that you perhaps may be distancing yourself from yourself? And when I say distancing yourself from yourself, it's more so distractions. How are we focusing our attention on other things that we tend to put them in more importance than actually focusing on ourselves. So it's just a distraction for you not to really work on the underlying reason as to why you may be unhappy with your body, why you may not be able to lose the weight you want, or just why you may feel like you're kind of like stuck when it comes to your health and increasing your health. When it comes to like how are we distracting ourselves, there's many ways that we distract ourselves. We distract ourselves with the prime suspect, and that sometimes is food. We feel like if we eat so much food that especially that we enjoy, we think are the best for us, are very tasty, we eat it, but we just use that as a way of just not thinking about it, or it's going to give us the answer feeling better. It's going to be what we need to help us through our stress. And it's actually we using what we are fighting with, which is our foods, in our body with those foods. So we find ourselves distracting ourselves with bringing in more foods that actually goes against the grain of what we want for our health and what we want for our body. Um, and it's easy to victimize yourself. It's easy to say, oh, well, my day was just so long, or oh, the store wasn't open and have what I needed, or oh, like we find ways to like feel sorry for ourselves. And I feel that puts us in a position where we feel more of a victim, and that can be a crutch sometimes, because if we feel we're a victim, when we have no one to blame but what we're blaming. And I'm not saying blaming yourself. I'm just saying recognizing if you're victimizing yourself, you are distancing yourself from yourself and finding a distraction to help you to really focus in on why you're doing what you're doing. And then also thinking about when we victimize ourselves, we find people or circumstances to blame for the reason as to why we perhaps are not living our best life as far as our health. We can put it around, oh, there's a birthday party and I just couldn't, I have to have this particular food during the birthday party. Or someone made me a great dish and I just didn't want to disappoint them. Or, you know what, I had to take my kids from pillar to post and my day just got away from me. And because of that, I couldn't maintain my healthy eating habits. These are all, again, distractions and ways you are distancing yourself from yourself. And then we project. When we judge others, a lot of times we judge others is because those are the feelings that we feel about ourselves. We're quick to talk negative about someone else, their actions, what they're choosing to eat. And a lot of times because we don't feel good about what we're eating. So for example, if you are struggling with your nutrition and not feeling like you're in the best place mentally, emotionally, and you see someone that is, making healthier choices or are foregoing the soda for the water, and then you want to tease them and you want to say, you know what, I don't, I'm glad you're making your healthy choices, but I don't know how long that's going to last. Or how could you do something like that and be consistent with it? Like we have a negative energy towards that person when a lot of times it's because you're dealing with some of the negativity within yourself. So recognizing too when you project negativity on others and how their eating habits are, or how long they're going to stay on their nutrition plan or diet plan, is really a reflection of you living in fear about how you feel about yourself. And again, it leads to placing things around you so that you can not think about it, when at the end of the day you really are, and you're temporarily satisfying yourself, but at the end of the day you're going to go right back to the same topic or that same thought process, the same feeling, and you're not going to feel any better. So what's the problem? We're not addressing what's really going on in our lives, why we find ourselves in the same cycle, why do we find ourselves continuing to be living in a kind of a negative cycle of how we feel about ourselves, how we think about ourselves. And most of the time, when we do this, we're suffocating ourselves from our own happiness. And a lot of times we do this out of shame. So, understanding that when you distance yourself from yourself, these are some of the problems that are coming out. When you don't know yourself and you're trying to avoid getting to know yourself, you're never going to be able to deal with yourself, and it'd be reflected in negative ways. So the solution, I always say, it's not always about finding problems, but finding solutions. And so the solution is when you start to address when are you going to start to address what's bothering you at the end of the day? Why do you find yourself feeling down on yourself? Why do you find yourself going back to that refrigerator every single time you get off of work? Or why do you find yourself defaulting or deferring to going to a fast food restaurant when you know that that's not in line with where you want to be for your health and for your body? It starts with first thinking differently. One of my taglines in my Facebook business page is, think differently, because the only way we can change our actions and change our is by changing our thoughts. And so thinking differently, how are you going to approach, what you're feeling and how it's going to reflect in your choices. So thinking about how are you going to start placing yourself in a position where you refuse to be a victim, how are you going to move, not move away, but try to distance yourself from those distractions that cause you to take time to look at yourself. How are you going to stop blaming others, judging others? How are you going to position yourself to where you are changing your mindset, which is going to only empower you to change a negative cycle into a positive cycle? So it starts with thinking differently. And then when you think differently, you'll talk to yourself differently. And by talking to yourself differently, you'll be able to change that negative talk into positive talks. And guess what? Those positive talks won't be dependent upon other people's opinions and what other people think. We got to really figure out what's best for us. So that means taking that time to know yourself, learn what's best for you, and remember, you deserve to have what's best for you, and begin executing from that foundation. So my play to win, I would say, ways to handle this is first, remind yourself. Remind yourself that you want more for yourself. Remind yourself that you know how you feel when you get in certain situations that make you vulnerable. Remind yourself when you are distracting. Remind yourself when you are distracting yourself, to really kind of dig in deep and know why you do what you do. And also, once you remind yourself and remember what it is that you ultimately want to do in the long term, now you can use that as to start refocusing yourself. Refocusing yourself means taking a deep breath, taking a step back, evaluating the cycle that you find yourself in, evaluate what's triggering in it, evaluating how you respond to it. And when you're able to refocus, you can start refocusing those lenses. You can start narrowing down what it is that's causing these triggers, that's creating that cycle. And then you can start kind of unraveling that cycle and start implementing new habits, new thoughts into that new cycle. And then last but not least, you do the complete opposite from distancing yourself. You start to reconnect with yourself. And so when you learn to reconnect with yourself, that means taking away the distractions. That means keeping those reminders, a reminder of what you want for yourself, not what others want for you, what you want for yourself. You're able to reconnect into who you are, which changes your thought process, which changes your actions, which changes that cycle from a negative to a positive cycle. Remember, as I always say, nutrition is definitely a journey. But when you're in this journey, learn to be in the moment. Don't just rush to get to the finish line because the finish line is not definitive of happiness. As you're treading to the finish line, if you want to call it the finish line, be in the moment of learning yourself, reconnecting with yourself, bringing in the tools and reminding yourself, refocusing yourself, especially when it's more difficult. So as you're moving in your life and your nutrition journey, take some of those things into perspective. Learn to stop distancing yourself, but learn to reconnect with yourself. Write it down. Create a mantra. Create, have a new routine. Find some way to reconnect that the positivity that you have within yourself and create that negative energy into a positive energy. So, this is Rashonda Thornton. Again, I'm always here to give you positive ways to think about how you're going to find a way to live healthy within your life, not someone else's, but yours. But it takes work. So, I want to encourage you and keep you moving forward because the way we used to think about our nutrition and diets, we got to start changing that. That's the change, is the only way that change can happen. So I want to encourage you. Please share this with someone you know that is in need of some of this information. Follow me on my different business pages, Instagram and Twitter, and continue to stay in the loop of how we can start changing our mindset without nutrition. Rashonda Thornton, a dietitian against diets. Talk to you guys soon.